Can't hear anything there, can we?
Mm.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's live. Hopefully you can all hear us because we have been having some sound issues, haven't we, Dave?
Yeah.
Hello Dave, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Keith, everyone.
Welcome to this another live session, our monthly live session, our Ask the Experts Q&A. Again, we still haven't been able to find any experts, but Dave and I are here anyway to try and answer anything that you might want to ask us. So I think we are live on Facebook and on Instagram. So wherever you're watching us on any of those, say hello. It would be great to know who is watching. Yeah, Candice has said she can hear us. So
excellent.
We're all good, Dave.
That's it. That's all we need.
Oh, so how are you, Dave, anyway? All right?
Yeah, fine, thank you. And you?
Yes, very well. Well, apart from I've kind of come back from being away and I've picked up this horrible whatever it is. But so don't get too close to me.
Gorilla flu, I should think.
Yeah, it might be gorilla flu. Yeah. Like that's might be what I've got. But so on these live sessions, it's a chance for you guys to ask us any questions you might have, whether that's on our trips, whether you are traveling yourself. Good evening from Spain, Christina. Good evening, Andrea. Good evening, Lindsay. Hope you are all well. If anyone hasn't listened to today's podcast, then it's with Lindsay. So if you want to go and listen to today's podcast, then it's with Lindsay, and it's all about our recent gorilla trekking trip. And today we covered off the gorilla trekking element of it. And last week I did one with our good friend Tom Lloyd, where we talked about the whole trip in general. So there we are. That podcast was brilliant, and I'm sure she's talking about Lindsay there and not about me. Yeah. But Tom is helping us today as well. And there we go. Look, without even asking, he's put links into the podcast straight away. So thank you for that, Tom. So have a listen if you're interested in gorilla trekking. And thanks to Lily, who says Keith looks like he's been gorilla trekking. I don't know if you missed the first bit where I said I've been ill, but I didn't quite have time to have a shave today. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, the gorilla trekking trip is one thing I'd like to talk about because it's was just amazing.
I looked at it.
And one of the focuses today is to talk about our trips that have happened in February. So we've had plenty going on in February. So like I said, we've had the Uganda trip. We've had a Winter Tootcow trip. We've had a Sahara trip. We've had a Marangu trip. And then we've had another group of people who have headed off and done the Northern Circuit on Kilimanjaro. And we organised that for them. because they wanted to head off and do that particular route and wanted to go with us. So we planned it for them and they went away. But yeah, I think we had great success on Winter Toot Cow. I mean, obviously, always a success on the Sahara, Dave, isn't there?
Yes.
You can't not have a...
Can't go wrong.
I mean, how did you feel about that, Dave? A Sahara trip, going out and seeing photos without you on the trip?
Yeah. Yes. I didn't feel very good, actually. I love that trip, as everyone knows. It's one of my favourites. Yeah. Yeah, it was just great that people could do it. And I know, even if I wasn't there, they're going to have a great time.
Yeah,
so
it is an amazing. And you are heading out later on in the year.
I am, yeah.
So you're ticking that one off
in
later
November.
on in the year. Like Jack led our Winter Toot Cow trip. Again, another amazing trip. Great feedback from that one. All on the summit in winter. And you know, it was interesting because I had a really good chat with Jack about the winter trip, and he said that actually he felt it was easier doing Toot Cow in the winter with snow down, because it's just a lot smoother on the way up and a lot smoother on the way down.
You got plenty of grip, actually, more than you have over the loose stuff. Yeah,
because you know, I think the biggest surprise for a lot of people with Toot Cow is how long it takes to come back down. Like, it's not a quick descent from Toot. It takes you nearly as long to come back down as it does to go up, doesn't it? Well, Candice has just put on Instagram, Sahara Dave, you make it better. I mean, I think in years to come, they're going to be like, you know, digging up fossils in the Sahara Desert. You'll appear.
That's just where Dave cut his toenails.
So we've had some, and obviously then, you know, the gorilla trekking trip, which is, well, it's made its way up. If anyone listens to the podcast or watch these lives, like on the podcast, both Dave and I, we did our top 5 bucket list trips from ours. And I think Uganda is. I was talking to this with Lindsay actually while we were away, because Lindsay kind of agrees with me how great Chile and Easter Island is as a trip. And I asked Lindsay, like, would Uganda get to your number 1 spot? And she was like, it's amazing, and it's either joint first or it's like 0.1 points off of being first. It was. It was truly an amazing trip, and
it looked very moving.
Oh, like it
was
was
moving.
It was from the start, and I mean, like, we arrived in Kampala, and then like one of the first, our second day, if you like, of the trip, we went and did a tour of Kampala, and then we went and visited one of the local slums. Like, there was 30,000 people living in this slum, and we went and visited a charity there that works with teen girls at risk, and basically gives them vocational training and a chance for them to hopefully one day leave the slum. A lot of them are young single parents, and that was really moving. Like, you know, the group came away from that and they were like, wow, like, you know, and you'd come from quite like an affluent area and walked like 50 yards and you were in the slum. It was like, so that was like, from the start, it was like, okay, we've kind of seen reality now. And then we went chimpanzee tracking, and that was, because the thing is, like, for anyone that hasn't listened to the podcast yet, I won't spoil it too much, but Lindsay, who was on the podcast today, she sent me a message probably about 18 months ago saying, have you sorted that gorilla trekking trip out yet? Because I want to go for my special birthday. And if you don't do it, I'm booking it with somebody else. So I put this trip together, and it was a really difficult one to do, because like the point of going to Uganda is to go gorilla trekking. But you can't just go to Uganda, because the gorilla trekking is like one day. And it's an expensive day. Like, your permits in Uganda are $800 for the day to go and see or $700 in Uganda to go and see the gorillas. The only other place you can do it at the minute is Rwanda, and they're $1,500 to go there. For some reason, more people go to Rwanda. And if Tom's listening to this bit, I did a podcast on our reason for choosing Uganda, which wasn't just the $1,500 difference or the $800 difference permit fees. So I had to try and put this itinerary together that filled, like, you need to go somewhere for like 10 days.
Yes.
And then, but with the highlight being the gorillas at the end. So, yeah, there was lots of choices of things to do. And we went chimp tracking. And we started walking through the jungle. And there were, there was chimps in the trees, and it was really funny. And if Andrea's still listening, she got peed on by a chimp in the.
Lucky.
She was stood there underneath it, and then she was like looking like, and she was like, oh, I'm getting, and then all of a sudden you heard it hitting the leaves. It was coming down, but Andrea was stood underneath it. And then we kind of towards the end, you realise we were getting towards the end of the tracking, like it was coming to an end, and that, like, the guide said to us, we'll just go over here a minute and just see if any of them have come down from the trees. And it was brilliant up to that point, seeing them in their natural habitat, and then we just walked around this corner, and there was this one just laid there on the ground like that, just looking at us. And then another one came along, and like, they started like grooming each other, and then the next minute, like, this almighty noise kicked off, and they were just coming from all directions and running like right past your feet, and you like that. Everyone was like, the hair, the hairs on the back of your neck was just on end. It was just so amazing. And we probably then stayed with them for like another 40-45 minutes, I suppose. Well, they were, and we finished that day, went back to the lodge, and everyone in the group were going, that was like, you're not going to beat that day.
No.
Like that day was just unbelievable. That's
not sitting in a Jeep and spotting something from afar.
Yeah. Like, it was just incredible. Like, that is the best, as Andrea's husband said, like, that was the perfect day. And it became the joke of the trip then, because every day then it was like, was that a perfect day? But so yeah, they all loved that day. And then we went on safari, but we did it in a boat. And we went up through the channel, and the guide said to us at the start, he was like, right, what do you guys want to see today? And they were like, maybe an elephant, maybe a hippo, maybe a crocodile, and he was like, oh, okay. And we literally like took the boat round for about 4 minutes. He went, hippo, crocodile, elephant, can we go now? And everyone was like that. But there was like baby hippos, like the birds were amazing. Like it was so good. And everyone again was like, oh, what a brilliant day. That was such a great day. Best day ever. And then we went off in the evening. We were supposed to have the afternoon off the next day. And then they were like, oh, you're supposed to do an evening game drive tomorrow, but we've been told there's a Pride of Lions. So do you want to switch it now? Because we can go in straight to where they are. So we were like, yeah, okay then. So off we went to the Pride of Lions, saw them, came back. Next day, got up, went lion tracking. Found 2 Pride of Lions, found leopards in trees.
I saw the picture.
Like, and they were just again so close. And the amazing thing was that we actually had, because they do track their collared, some of the lions from the Pride are collared, and we actually had the tracker in the vehicle with us, and he's basically hanging out the roof with an aerial, like, and he's just listening to the beeps, and then we're like following it around to find the beeps. And it was so interesting that there was other people that were in the park that obviously hadn't booked that experience, and they couldn't go off the track.
No.
So we were looking, we could hear them talking. They were probably about 75, 80 meters away from us, and they were like, "What are they looking at?" And they're like, you could hear their guide going, "There's a leopard in the tree up there," and they're like, "I can't see it," and we're just like sat there staring at it. It was incredible. And then we had the gorilla trekking experience, which there was
that looked.
That
was going to be the perfect day.
It was the perfect day. And it was funny because we had so many people in the group who it had been one of their lifelong ambitions. It had been top of their bucket list to go and see a silverback. And people, as soon as they saw them, were just crying. They were in tears. There was one lady there, she was just in tears because she was like, I've just always wanted to see a mountain gorilla silverback in the wild, and now I'm here with it. But
so close too.
Well, it just literally like brushed past you. It was like it was incredible how close. And they were coming. We were stood still. They came to us. It wasn't like
no.
but yeah, if that's on your bucket list, then do check out that trip, because Alan's just said it was just perfect. There we go.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan. Who else have we got on? Silas. Hello, Silas. How are you?
Back again.
So where is the favourite place you've been to date and the place you want to go you haven't been? Well, I mean, as I just said just a minute ago, you know, Uganda was pretty special. Chile and Easter Island is, well, I just love it. And I know there's plenty of people that it was really funny, because again, the reason I love Chile and Easter Island more than anything is because when I go to a pub and you're sat down talking with people, very few people know anyone that's been to Easter Island. No. Loads of people know the people that have been to Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp.
They've seen it on TV.
They've seen it. Yeah, they've seen the heads, and you know, it's been in cartoons and everything else. And you know, the thing that I love is that very few people have ever been there. But the trouble is on the Uganda trip, like 7 people around the table had been to. You can't say it when you're with that group, because you know that it was almost like a little bit of a reunion for our Chile and Easter Island trip that were away in Uganda. Where do I want to go that I haven't been yet? I haven't been to Antarctica. That's definitely on the list.
I've been close in Patagonia.
Yeah. So I think for me, Antarctica would be the one that. I mean, there's plenty of places I want to go that I'd love to go and see Japan. I'd love Galapagos. Yeah. I want to go and dive the blue hole in Belize. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, my bucket list is ever growing.
Overflowing.
So, but what about you, Dave? What your favourite trip?
Oh, as I've said to you before, Silas, they're all different. And the first time you go on many of these trips, you're just in awe and wonder, I think is the phrase. So anywhere in Nepal gets me excited. I love the deserts, any desert really. I'm a bit of a generalist. I just like so much, really. I don't think I've got one that is miles in front of the others. I've got lots that are close to number one. That seem to be the ones I've done. And where would I go? Well, I think, so you're talking about diving. Belize is a brilliant place. I think anywhere, Caribbean, fantastic. South America, we've been to, but there's so much more. I don't want to name one place. It's just large areas I'd like to go to again, or freshly, you know.
I mean, someone's just put on Instagram there that I really want to go to Easter Island, but was told that the locals were not friendly at all. And I haven't had that whatsoever. I always thought they were, you know, they're super friendly people, and they are, you know, where everyone lives. There's only one sort of town in Easter Island, really, and everyone is there. And I just think they're so welcoming. Candice has put she wants to go to Namibia. Yes, Candice, I know. Don't worry, it will be on the list very, very soon. As I keep being reminded by you all the time, you want to go to Namibia. So yeah, I mean, the world's a big place, isn't it? And, you know, even with our 48, 49 different destinations, you know, there's still plenty more that we need to go to. And, you know, in a lot of them, it's, you know, we only scratch the surface on some of them. I mean, like we do a lot of trips in Nepal, we do a lot of trips in Morocco, you know, but some places we go to. And then Lindsay's just put on Facebook, everyone in Easter Island was so friendly, especially that man you met in the bar as well, Lindsay. He was very friendly towards you, wasn't he? So yeah, don't be put off by what you've been told about Easter Island, because that's not. I mean, I've been twice now, and that's never been my sort of feeling towards it. I've always felt them to be very welcoming, and I think the lovely thing is the fact that it's because of there's only so many flights a week going in, because you know it's not overpopulated. It is rationed. They haven't got that over tourism going there. And of course, you know, they do rely on tourism, and they wouldn't. You know, a lot of the businesses there are based around that. Kaylee's just put she's looking forward to Ecuador and the Galapagos. I'm looking forward to that trip as well, Kaylee. That's a new one we added last month. And there are still a couple of spaces left on our first trip going out if anyone's got Ecuador and Galapagos on them. And the reason why we put that one onto the list was because the only way we were doing the Galapagos was via Peru. So you could do it as an add-on to your Machu Picchu trip. But we were getting lots of people coming to us saying, I've got the Galapagos on my bucket list, but I've been to Machu Picchu. So I don't want to go back to then go to the Galapagos. And actually, Ecuador was also on a lot of people's lists as well, of actually spending some time and seeing stuff in Ecuador as well. So that's why we added that one. Right, what else have we got to talk about today? Altitude Center call tomorrow. We've got one of our Zoom calls with the Altitude Center tomorrow. So Nick or one of their team from the Altitude Center will be doing a bucket list company call for anyone that's either thinking about going trekking at altitude, has already booked to go trekking at altitude, to talk about training, how to cope with altitude. It's your chance really to just have a Q&A, and you can sign up to join that call. And I'm sure Tom's just literally about to put the link into the various different groups where people are watching. So there we go. Oh no, Tom's just put the Galapagos trip in there, but I'm sure next he will be putting the link in for the Altitude Center call. That's tomorrow. Tom's given me so many things to talk about today. The list here that I've got to do. So what else have I got to talk about today? Best times to visit places. That's really important with a lot of our destinations we go to. Is there is a good time and there is a bad time to visit. And generally we will only run trips in the good time to visit. It's like, we won't go and do a Sahara Desert trek in the middle of August. We won't go trekking in Nepal in the middle of August. No. So there are good times to do trips and there are bad times to do trips. And obviously, commonly that is in the Himalayas. There is 2 seasons in the Himalayas to go. Likewise, if you want to do Toop Khao with snow, there is a very key point of when you want to go and do a winter Toop Khao trek. We're not going to offer one of those in June. So a lot of our trips are set to go in the right times. That's not the case for everyone when they're launching trips. I still see, that people are able, they're advertising Everest Base Camp treks in August. And it's just like, that's really not a great time to go. Even, from our perspective, we're pushing it back a little bit because I think with what's happening with the weather at the minute, it is changing. And but actually, I'm lying. The Altitude Center call is tonight. I'm really sorry. I thought it was tomorrow night, but it's tonight at 7:30. Right. So it's after this call. So thanks for Candice for reminding me of that. So if you want to jump on the Altitude Center call after this, then that call is taking place at 7:30 tonight, not tomorrow night. See, I told you I've been ill. So much.
Like Spike Milligan. I told him I was ill.
The other point of this is obviously to answer any questions that you guys might have. So if you have got any questions on any of our trips, then please do put them in the comments, and we are scrolling through them all and watching what people are saying. Silas has put any plans for domestic treks, coast to coast, Cumbria way, maybe a Land's End to John O'Groats. Well, that's a long trek to lead that one. I don't think I'll be leading Land's End to John O'Groats trek, but no, not at the minute really. I think there are plenty of other businesses that are doing these sorts of trips. And it's kind of what they specialize in. And I think we're just going to keep to what we specialize in, really. And I think a lot of those things as well, like, you can go and do them on your own. You don't need to have a support crew there to do them with you. There are some really good companies out there. And, I can recommend, Max Adventures, for example, are a great business. They do self-guided tours where they'll arrange everything for you, and they'll book your accommodation. They can move your luggage if you want to, but you basically guide it yourself. And they do loads of stuff in the UK. So I don't think there's any point of standing on their toes, really. Let us just keep doing what we do.
Yeah.
What's the first trip for someone who's never done anything like this or traveled solo before?
Well, Sahara, I would say over and over again, the Sahara Desert. And I just want to say a few things. It's not walking through sand all the time. It's walking through absolutely incredible scenery. It's very, very, very largely on the flat, but it's not boring in any way. It's well paced. You're well looked after. You have some camping, but again in really good conditions, but out in the wild, so you get that sense of adventure. Lovely food, and great bonding experience. I mean, every time I have taken that trip, it's been quite often full of people who've not really done very much before, and they've come away so excited. I can thinking about Chris and Mark.
Yeah.
Doing a bit of walking in England. Got convinced to do the Sahara by me, actually, at one of our shows.
Yeah.
And now they're off doing base camp, and they've got the bug, and they're both over 60. It's a really, really great trek to start, I think.
Yeah, I think Kaylee said agreed. Any of the Morocco trips are a great introduction to the bucket list and adventure travel.
Yeah.
I think my key thing that I would say here is, you're not a solo traveler for long.
No.
We are group travel, and even going on your own. And, it's always a little bit of a concern of mine because, we do have such a lot of bucket listers coming back on trips. Like, you very rarely will do a trip without having somebody that's already been on trips.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you're getting like half and half. I mean, the gorilla trekking one was a great example of that. We had 7 existing customers returning, and then 5 new ones.
Yeah.
And I could see that there was probably a little bit of apprehension there from the new ones of at the airport, the group who already know each other.
Yeah.
But instantly everyone's welcome round, and that's just what happens on trips.
That's why people come back, because we make it inclusive. Nobody's ever ostracized or put to one side. We make the whole thing inclusive. And that's why customers return, because they know, even if they turn up and there's nobody else they've been with before, they know what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Silas put there, Dave took the words out of my mouth. Sahara was my first abroad trek with the Bucket List Company. Uncle Dave was our guide. Phenomenal trip, and I'm actually looking to do it again. The sunset at the top of the dune, smiley face. So yeah, another one there. Christina's put Spanish Adventure is a good starting trip as well. If you not wanting to do long days of trekking, like that's a multi-activity trip.
Yeah.
Again, 6 days only to Spain, so it's really kind of a good introduction.
Close.
I mean, I think adventure travel is such a wide thing now as well, in terms of it's not just trekking or things like that. We've got our best of range, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia.
Yeah.
Where you are staying in hotels every night. You're not camping. You're not having to trek day after day. And loads of people love the best of range as well, because it's traveling quite nicely. I mean,
it is. But
I'm called Mr. Best of.
Mr. Best of. Yeah. There is a modicum of adventure inserted, but not too much for Keith.
Yeah, exactly that. And then Lindsay's put, you soon collect the bucket listers family on these trips. Yeah. And I think that,
that's what happens.
I know, I was in, we're in so many WhatsApp groups. And there was my best of Nepal trip from a couple of years ago. They had a get together last weekend where they all came together again and met up for lunch and all got to see each other again. So that's really nice when you see that happening and people stay connected. And I think it's right, you do meet friends for life on these trips. I've met so many people. Got some more questions coming here. What's the one piece of advice you wish every first time trekker knew?
if it's trekking, I would say don't make the mistake of seeing something nice on the screen, thinking I'd like to do that, and then making no preparation to do it. I think for me, if it's a trek, then you've got to get out and do some walking, just so that your body knows what it's actually going into. I think that's, and we've been through this many times, but for me, that is the most important thing. It's not just signing up for something and then think, well, I'll get fit on the trek, because the opposite happens actually. If you've not actually got yourself a basis to move on.
Yeah, and I think, from my perspective, I think it's, what I always say about multi-day treks is that they're only 40% physical and 60% mental. And having that before you go out is super important. What's your top tip for staying motivated when the going gets tough?
Well, I've been teased about this a number of times by different customers, and in the end, they've come up to me and said, "Dave, you were right. You were right." You get to the point, some tough points, where actually you have to say to yourself, "I'm just going to put one foot in front of another and repeat." And it might be for hours, it might be very long, it might feel very boring, but actually it gets you to the top. There are two things. Keith mentioned one. One is, if I go to every space camp, I've got to really want to do it, and not do it just because I want to go and see it. I want to go and see Everest. Right, I really want to do that. And then when it gets really tough and you think your body's saying, "Oh, I can't do it, I can't do it." It's not, it's your brain, and you just have to say one foot in front of the other, even if it's a small step, and you just keep doing and repeat. And it works every time for those who actually do that.
Yeah, and
that's been the worst.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think my tip for people is to, you're going on a journey, and you need to break that journey down and not think of the end goal. And I think most people go, "I'm going to Everest Base Camp, I've got to get there," and they're only thinking about getting to Everest Base Camp. They're not thinking about the journey on the way to get there. And actually what you've booked is a 13-day trek that leads you to Everest Base Camp, and actually you're going to enjoy every single day of that. And actually, if you don't think about the end goal, and you think about, right, today I just need to walk 10 kilometers and I'm going to enjoy that, and then tomorrow I'll think about what I'm doing tomorrow, and then eventually you get to where you're going. But I think that's my sort of key piece of advice to people, really, is because you're there to enjoy the whole trip. And it's surprising how many people say that what they thought was going to be their highlight of the trip wasn't actually the highlight of the trip, because something else surprised them, or there's another amazing view, so don't just think about, if I'm going to go and climb Kilimanjaro, then the highlight is going to be reaching the summit of Kilimanjaro, because there'll be so many more highlights on the way if you just take it each day at a time. Another question coming in, Dave, was I saw it a second ago. What are some of the must-have pieces of kit that trekkers often overlook? Hand sanitizer.
Well, you've got to look after your feet, and
I knew that was coming.
And you've got to look after your stomach. You can have, everyone's usually got the gear. Sometimes far too much, actually, because people become anxious. But someone's got that gear. But a lot of it, to be honest, nail clippers get forgotten, or people don't prepare their feet before they leave. And keep seeing me on my knees cutting people's toenails in the middle of somewhere quite tricky, because they're starting to get a blister, and we don't want that to get worse. So things like there's essential things to do with hygiene, really. And I do bang on about hand gel. If you get a stomach upset, and first of all, you don't want to get one, but then if you do, you need to have the cure for it. And if you leave it with altitude, it gets worse. Anything you've got gets worse with altitude. So you must nip things in the bud. So that means being really meticulous about looking after your feet. I have a big thing about powdering your socks. Before I even pack them in my bag, full of talcum powder. So when I put on my fresh socks, my feet in the morning, when I've had a bit of a tough day the day before, and off we go again today, and it's a bit dreary and a bit cold. Nice powdered feet, lovely. Put my boots on, I'm ready to go. So yeah, those are the two things I think. I don't know if people forget them, but I do emphasize them, is looking after your feet and looking after your hygiene. And if those two things are okay, it's amazing what you can achieve.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. People are amazed by what they achieve. That's not a glib statement.
Yeah, exactly that. I think, for me, your water to go bottle or your filtered water bottle is super important. Yeah. To being able to fill up anywhere and get water and not have to pay for it. I think everyone should have a water to go bottle. Obviously you can get a bucket list company water to go bottle with a 15% discount if Tom puts the link into the chat. But we don't want to be spending money when we don't need to spend money. Also as well, like I've got a real big thing about single-use plastic and constantly having lots of water bottles around. It was one of my annoyances on the Uganda trip, of how much wasted plastic there was everywhere, and something that I need to tackle moving forwards. But yeah, so for me, it's that filtered water bottle, and anything else that I think, a pack of cards. Like,
oh yes, yeah.
Like, it's a good game of shithead in the evening, sat round, definitely
lifts the
spirits. And wherever I go, I try and introduce another couple of bucket listers to the one great expedition game of shithead. So if you're coming on a trip anytime soon, then practice your shithead, because no one wants to.
You'll have to do a podcast on how to play it.
How to play it? Yeah, we'll have an online game.
Yeah, online game going on, like poker.
Okay, so we're kind of getting towards the end of the questions. Nothing much else is coming in, which is very good because the football starts in 23 minutes time. Kaylee's put, the others on the trip is often what motivates you. We all took it in terms to be the Mr. Mrs. Motivator on EBC and Kilimanjaro. Yeah, and like Lindsay says, this is so true. On the trekking trips, everyone will have a one-off moment, and others in the group will always lift each other back up again. And that's the thing that I love about that's the other thing that I love about group travel. We get so many people commenting about how oh, look, I would hate to go in a group. Like, I want the peace and quiet and this, that, and the other. And that's fine. Like, some people want to travel like that. The people who go with us want to have other people around them. And I kind of, enjoy having other people around me when I'm on a trip, and everyone has a day walking at the front, a day walking at the back. Yeah. Like, they move around, and,
as do we.
Hi, good evening, Jonathan Ram. Lovely to see you. Just one step at a time, Dave, worked for me for sure.
It sure did.
And that's what we're there to help with as well. Any destinations we need to push up our list before it becomes unattainable or inaccessible?
Who knows? Mr. Trump running around.
Yeah, I know. Careful what you say, Dave.
I'm being very careful.
You might be watching.
Yeah. Fake news.
I mean, it's forever changing, isn't it? I managed to go to Israel just before it all kicked off in Israel. Obviously, Jordan's a really hard sell at the minute. Yeah. Where it's always been safe to go to Jordan. But people just don't want to. They're anxious to go at the minute. I mean, we've got a trip heading out next week. There's only 2 people going on it because nobody else feels comfortable going yet. And I think there's probably going to be some time before people do start feeling confident again.
And we had Namibia mentioned earlier, but that's been in and out of favour over the last 10 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So Timbuktu would be a brilliant place to go to, but a bit dodgy at the moment.
Yeah, so I think it's forever, but also as well, it's also, we're talking from a political perspective, but we're also talking from an environmental perspective as well. If you want to go to the North Pole, you should hurry up and make your way to the North Pole. But at the same time, it's also given us other things, because 12 years ago, or a little bit longer than that, 14 years ago, Rainbow Mountain didn't exist. And now it's one of the biggest tourist
Fabulous.
destinations around. So, you know, it's constantly changing, constantly evolving. But, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the political world. Like, you know, we've got plenty of people who still want to go and climb Mount Elbrus. And unfortunately, again, you know, that's been, you know, we have people wanting to do that, and then COVID hit. And then, of course, then Ukraine hit, and then, you know, people have had trips trying to move it since 2019 to go and do Mount Elbrus. So yeah, I mean, I think that's always going to be the case. But I think, you know, looking at environmental issues, looking at political issues, it's all ever changing. And I think you just need to take it while you can. And if you are prevented from going there, move that trip to somewhere else and wait for it to come back and be available again. I think that's kind of the best advice, really. So final things for me then, from my list from Tom, that I need to just make sure I tick it all off and I'm doing as I'm told, because I don't have to do a lot of work, but this is one thing I have to do. So just a quick reminder, anyone thinking of booking a bucket list trip, unfortunately, prices are going up on the 1st of March. You know, we do have to increase them occasionally. Everything's getting more expensive in the world, and it's going to keep getting more expensive. And we kind of try and do it in one go, you know, and unfortunately, March the 1st is the time to do it. So if you are thinking about booking a bucket list trip, head over to the website now, get it booked before March the 1st and secure it at the current price. You know, don't say you weren't warned. It is coming on March the 1st. Other things that I need to mention is that we are heading to the National Outdoor Expo on the 22nd and 23rd of March in Birmingham at the NEC. I will be there. Dave will be there. We've got the Altitude Centre coming on our stand as well, so you can go in, have a chat with them. They're bringing a treadmill. You can get hooked up and
beat my record.
See if you can beat Dave's record on there. We'll be giving talks over the weekend as well, on the travel destination stage. So I'm giving a talk on Everest Base Camp, Kilimanjaro, my top destinations, which I might have to change that.
Yeah.
That's
well, you got a new one now.
I've got a new one now to add into there. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. I think we've covered that off really well. And for our half an hour slot, Dave, we've done 42 minutes of talking. So thanks ever so much for everyone for coming on today. Please make sure you follow us on all of the social medias. So we are on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Pinterest. I don't know.
Yeah, really?
Apparently so.
Oh, right.
No, I did know we're on Pinterest. But yeah, we're across all the socials, and you can find out when we will be doing things like these. Don't forget that if you want to head on to the Altitude Centre Core, that is taking place today in 17 minutes time, and there was a link in the chat where you could go and sign up for that and get the link sent to you to jump on that call. So if you're heading to altitude, or you're thinking of heading to altitude, you don't know how your body's going to cope, get on there, chat to the guys at the Altitude Centre, and, you know, ask any questions you might have. So if you're thinking of booking a trip, then that's a great way of just getting a bit of reassurance before you go. If you've got any questions on any of our trips, thinking about booking a trip before they go up in price, obviously the team in the office are always there to help. We've got Candice and we've got Ellie in the office, and as any one of our customers who knows them, they are always super happy to chat with you. Likewise, so am I. So if it's, you know, you want to talk through a specific trip, or you've got a specific question and you want to know, you know, Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, K2 Base Camp, you know, any of the trips that are, you know, if you want to talk to someone who's been there, done it, then, you know, speak to the guys in the office and they can arrange for you to have a call with me as well. And yeah, I'm always more than happy to talk. But I think that's it, Dave. Anything else from you?
No, that's all good.
I'm all good. Make sure you catch up with this week's podcast, because it is a good one. Tom will put another link into there. If you've got Uganda on your bucket list, then please think about adding that trip to it, because it was just so amazing. Anyway, that's it from Dave and I. We will be back in a month's time with another Ask the Experts. We might even try and find an expert. Dave.
Yeah,
that might be
that's me out.
But as we were talking about Jordan earlier, we'll finish with a clip of Jordan so you can see what it's like, and hopefully you'll want to add this to your bucket list.
I'm taking that one this year.
Thanks very much, everyone, and we will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum. السلام عليكم.